So our good friend Adam Bolt, just give us a wave, Adam. Now you might remember in the first module, Adam, he started weeping when he was walking.
Oh, you're going to bring that up again. Thanks.
Walking through a forest with orangutans. And last night we were doing a dry run of the training, and we're just running through it to get the timing right, the content, and he's always got it right anyway. But I've got to be honest with you, I wept when he explained some of the stuff, and I'm going to tell you what he showed me. He showed me some of the issues that you come across: overheating, sealing your camera, ruining your camera, plucking out this little flap on the bottom where the microphone's hidden underneath. And I just never knew any of these things. The other thing he showed me, it's possibly illegal. He showed me some secret Macs. I don't even think that GoPro know about it. Is that right, Adam?
No, it's actually made by GoPro. They actually designed a lot of these features for people like NASA, etc. So they needed ways to operate GoPros and do certain things for cinematic videos, etc. So they created a program called GoPro Labs, which it opens up a whole bunch of features that it's more for the high-end professionals. But yeah, if you want to get into the GoPro and you really want to take it to the next level, it'll do some incredible things for you. So
this is you showed me a URL. You download it onto the data onto your GoPro, and it opens up all these other apps. So
yeah. So basically what it does is it turns the GoPro into, when you get your phone and you see a QR code?
Yeah.
So basically it turns your GoPro into a QR scanner. So you can create a code using the app that they have for it. It creates a code, you scan it with your GoPro, and it puts all those settings onto your GoPro. It's really simple.
Okay. Very excited. All right, I'm going to hand over the hosting to you. You're the boss. Fire away. And
I'm the boss.
Please just remember, make sure you've all got your microphones muted, and make sure you've all got your cameras on out of respect to the presenter. And if you've got any questions, there's a little chat box on your bar down below, and you can actually put a chat for everyone or for someone in particular. And there's also a button with reactions, and one of them is showing a hand, and that'll show that you want some attention. Okay, so handing over to you. You're the chief now. Give me a sec.
Hang on. Yeah.
That's it. You're the one. You're on.
Oh, beautiful. Excellent. Can everybody see that screen?
Yep.
Okay. Once again, welcome to tonight's presentation. I'm Adam Bolt. This is a 4-part presentation for Gold Coast Dive and Snorkel. First of all, I just want to say thanks to a few people. I did see Dave in the chat there as well. So he's an excellent model for me. This is the photo on the right there. That's of Dave in the water. So if you ever need somebody to model for you in the water, Dave will do it for you. Kirsty, I saw her in there as well. She's I've got some great photos of her. And there's a girl that I spoke to earlier this week. Her name's Evie Hall. She takes some incredible photos. I don't have a great back catalogue of photos to show you guys, so I reached out to Evie, and you'll see some of her incredible work next week when we talk about composition and framing, etc. So I'm really happy that she's allowed me to share her photos with you guys. So anyway, let's get into tonight's presentation. So last week we talked all about me. So that was my journey from photography and how I got into GoPros. Tonight we're going to look at how to avoid disasters with your GoPros, and also the settings that you can use on your GoPro. Next week we're going to look at equipment plus framing and the composition techniques you use for video. And in the last week we'll look at lighting, color correction, and video editing techniques. So first of all, avoid disasters. It's really, there are so many issues that we come across daily on the GoPro forums, and I really want to show you ways to avoid that, because it's really important information to know. Imagine you're going on that epic dive adventure, you've got that shiny new GoPro with you, And there'd be nothing worse than that GoPro failing on you right in the middle of that once in a lifetime dive trip. And here are the most common issues that you could encounter and what you can do to help solve them, or at least try to avoid them from happening. Now, this one, it seems a bit stupid, but we see this all the time. Don't break this cover off your GoPro. It's on the 9, 10 and 11. It's a little, looks like a door on the side of the GoPro. It's right under the mode button, but it's actually a cover or a drain cover for your microphone on the GoPro 9, 10 and 11. Now, if you break that off, it's not likely to damage your GoPro. It's going to make it look horrible for one thing, but there is a very slight chance that you could put a crack in the housing, and then your GoPro could become not waterproof anymore. And as you can see, there's plenty of examples of people doing that. So if you're not aware of what that is, it's, like I said, don't touch it, don't break it. All right, next one, batteries. GoPros are notorious for not lasting long with batteries, so make sure you buy extra batteries, and definitely make sure that you charge those batteries the night before you go for a dive. There'd be nothing worse than getting to your dive site, turning on your GoPro, and it doesn't turn on because it's got a flat battery. Now, if you're one of those people that leave the GoPro battery inside the GoPro and leave it away, for a week or two, that battery will drain over a period of time. So make sure that if you do go for a dive, it's charged up the night before. Now, if you have the new GoPro 9, 10, 11, I really recommend their new Enduro batteries. There's another brand called Telesin, and they have their Stamina high performance battery as an alternative, which is this one. They're both white batteries. The earlier models all used to be blue. Now, I think George has used this gentleman too. There's a guy up at the back of Mudrabar up at Benogan, and he's an actual agent for Telesin in Australia. So he's got a lot of dive gear up there, spare batteries, your dome ports, dive cases, etc., etc. So I'll be definitely sharing a link with George so he can pass it on to everybody if you are looking for spare batteries. Now, both of these batteries work really well in cold temps. So if you're a person that likes going scuba diving, but also likes going skiing, these are the best batteries to get. Plus, they also last longer on a charge for you. Now, GoPro have stopped making all models of GoPros prior to the GoPro 9, so it can be really difficult to get spare batteries, but Telesin still offer batteries for the 5, 6, 7 and 8, just in case you do require spare batteries. Now, charging your GoPro. As you're probably aware, we can charge the GoPro through the USB port on the GoPro, but I highly recommend that you buy and use an external battery charger instead. Now, charging your battery from the GoPro, it can overheat it, especially if you aren't using like a properly certified charger or USB cable. Now, if the battery overheats, it's common for them to swell. Now, if this happens, you need to throw that battery out, and it may get stuck in your GoPro, or worse, it could catch fire. Now, I've actually had that happen to me before, where I've overcharged the battery in the GoPro. It got stuck. I tried to pull it out and tore the top of the battery off. I had to get pliers. It was just a mess. So I'm never going to charge another battery in my GoPro again. And a battery charger will definitely help the chance of any overheating on your battery. So as you can see, like Telesin, they have a whole range of batteries chargers that you can get. I've used the GoPro charger, which is one on the left there. That's the dual one. I didn't like it. I ended up selling it. It works well, don't get me wrong, but when you're traveling, the batteries fall out of it, so I had to put like a rubber band around it. Whereas, and I think George got this one the other day as well. This is called the Allen box from Telesin. First of all, you got a nice little hanger on it if you want to put it somewhere. It's got a locking lid on it, so batteries don't fall out. It still shows when a battery is charged and off charged. There's the lights on the front. Plus, you can also charge up to 3 batteries rather than 2. In the lid, it actually has spare spots there for you for SD cards, and actually has a micro SD charger in it as well. So you can plug that from the back into your PC, and you can download your content that way as well. Now, I think I heard somebody ask a question. No? Yeah, so like I said, you definitely get yourself a battery charger. Now, if you bought a new GoPro, you most likely bought it off the GoPro website, and you probably bought it with the subscription. That gives you the ability to upload all of your content onto the GoPro cloud, and while it's charging. Now, if you try and upload from the GoPro, it takes a long time. And a lot of people complain saying, oh, it's the GoPro taking a long time for these videos and photos to upload to the cloud. But it's definitely not a GoPro issue. It's just a Wi-Fi issue. Because if you can imagine, if you're recording at 5.3K, 60 frames per second, that creates a huge video file, which can take a long time to upload, and especially if you have a slow Wi-Fi connection. So not only does, I'll start again, uploading from your GoPro puts extra stress on your battery as well, because now your GoPro is trying to charge, but it's also trying to upload at the same time. So it's doing two tasks at the one time. And because it can take a long time, this GoPro just keeps generating heat and heat and heat. And like I said, that's how I ended up damaging a battery once before. And not only that, while it's plugged in and charging up, you can't use your GoPro. You've got to wait till it's charged up. So that's another reason for getting a battery charger for your GoPro. And that's definitely not ideal if you need your GoPro in a hurry. So I recommend the following methods if you want to upload your content to the GoPro cloud. And how do I check messages? I can hear little beeps coming through. Okay. Okay, why won't they tell us an overheat? It looks quite enclosed as well. They have cut very electronics in it to cut them off. So it's a very smart device. So yeah, and it'll switch off as soon as it gets to a certain point. What else have we got there? Sign me up for Wales. I'm so excited about tonight. Okay, all right. So that answers everybody's questions. Okay, so I recommend the following methods to upload to the GoPro cloud. First of all, get your phone, install the GoPro Quick app, and from the GoPro Quick app, you can actually connect your GoPro to the app and download all the content onto your phone. Now, if you're signed in to the app on your device there, and all those photos and videos will automatically upload to the GoPro cloud for you. So that's a nice, easy way to get your GoPro content onto the cloud.
Can I just butt in? We've got a couple of people waiting to get into the meeting. Can you just
Sure.
admit them, please? Yeah, sorry.
Oh, how do you do that? Admit, there we go. There we go. It should be in now. Okay, so that's one way to get your content into the GoPro cloud. That's through your app, the Quick app. The other way you can do it, this is the method I use. I download all my files onto my PC, and then you can go directly to the web browser and upload it to the GoPro Media Library. And you can use this link. I'll just see if I can. I'll pause this for a second. Share screen. I'm just going to stop sharing that one for a second. I just want to share another screen for you to show you what this looks like. Okay, so if you go to, it's called GoPro Media Library. So this will probably get me to sign in. Is that sharing for everybody? Can they see that? Yep. So once you log in, you'll see all your video and photos that you've uploaded to the cloud. Now there is a button up the top right there that says Add Media. So now you can drag and drop any file that's on your computer. As long as it's a JPEG file or a MOV or an MPG, you can upload those files, and that's the easiest way I find to do. You can do that and then walk away from the computer while that's happening in the background. Okay, I'll just go back into the slideshow. So I'll get back up to, what was that method that you said the other day, George, to get straight to a a slide.
You
think it
put
was
in
like-
the slide number and then you hit enter. So
Oh,
5
okay.
enter
Yeah.
takes you to slide 5.
Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so now once those files have uploaded to the GoPro Cloud, you'll see in the GoPro Quick App, each of those files will have a cloud icon, and inside of that cloud icon, it'll generally have either a tick, a clock, or a up arrow. Now, if it's got a tick, that's great, but if it has either either a clock icon or a up arrow, those files haven't completely uploaded to the GoPro Cloud yet. So if you delete those files, if you delete those files before they've completely uploaded and you don't have a backup of that video file or that photo file, you've lost them forever. You've got to wait until you see that tick icon before you delete it from your phone. And once it's uploaded to the cloud and you've got that tick icon, you can now delete that file. And that's very handy for, if you've got you're tight on space on memory on your phone, you can get rid of those files then, so you can get some space back on your memory on your phone. And once those files have uploaded to the cloud, you'll always be able to access and download them again at any time and at the full resolution. Okay. Do you have to pay for cloud storage? It is a fee. I think it's about 70 Australian dollars per year. But it doesn't just give you the cloud storage, it also gives you up to 2 replacements of your GoPro every year. There is supposed to be a small charge to it, but I know like myself and George and a couple of other people have sent their GoPros back and we've had them replaced for free, so it's paid for itself already. You also get a big discount on their accessories on their website as well. There's another question there. Okay, so there's a question there. When the photos, videos are on the phone, can you edit or delete unwanted content? Yes, you can. As soon as it's got that tick icon, you can delete it. But as I said, if it has the clock icon or the up arrow, don't delete that file until you see that tick arrow. Okay, memory cards. Now, I often see complaints on the GoPro forums that their GoPro has corrupted their micro SD card and they've lost every file. And look, I understand why they're mad, because I've shot a wedding before and I've lost files. So it's very inconvenient, especially, that's the last thing you want to happen, especially if you've gone on that once in a lifetime trip and you've lost all those precious memories and images. Now, hopefully you can recover those files using some recovery software. Like I said, I've lost files before and I've used recovery software in the past and it's saved me from disaster. Now, the corruption issue generally happens the corruption issues can generally be avoided by these simple steps. First of all, GoPro actually have a list of micro SD cards that they recommend for their GoPros. With all these links that I'm putting up tonight, like I said, I'll share these with George so that he can repost that for people, or if you want, take a screenshot so that you've got that at a later date. Now, I always buy the fastest memory card that I can for the GoPro, and I only ever buy it from a reputable dealer or direct from the manufacturer. There are so many fake SD cards out there, and my preference is always to use the SanDisk Extreme Pro. I haven't had any issues with that card at all. Now, if possible, test the card before you go away on a trip to make sure it's not damaged, that it's reading and writing correctly, and that it's working with your GoPro. Okay, so to avoid corruption issues on your GoPro memory card, it's recommended that you format the SD card using the GoPro settings, so using the GoPro itself. Now, you don't have to format after every transfer, but it's recommended to do that frequently. Now, this is really important because I've done it to my dash cam. If you only ever copy files from the SD card, never cut or delete those files from another device. Like I said, I've done that with my dash cam, where I've got the files, I've cut it from that SD card and it's corrupted the SD card. And only ever format the card in your GoPro. This will save you a world of hurt. Now, this is how it's done on the latest GoPro 9, 10 and 11. on the GoPro 11, swipe down, swipe to the left, hit Preferences, scroll to the bottom, hit Reset, hit Format SD card, and then hit Format. Yeah, so like I said, that's really important. Don't format that SD card in anything but your GoPro. And as I said, don't cut files from it either, only copy them across. Now, GoPro updates. Before you go on any trips, make sure your GoPro has the latest firmware installed. And you know, if you're away where you don't have any reception, you won't be able to you know, install that software from a, that firmware from a remote location. Now, especially like on the GoPro 11, if you buy a new GoPro 11 or 10 or 11, you often have to do a firmware update before you can even use them. So that's why I recommend doing that before you go on any trip. Now, you may encounter some issues after updating your GoPro. Now, this can happen especially if you have a poor Bluetooth connection between your GoPro and your mobile device. And that's because the data transfer can get corrupted with that poor connection, leading to install errors and reliability issues on your GoPro. Now, the easiest way to avoid these issues, and this is the way I normally do it, is to update manually. So you can go onto the GoPro website. There's a link there. Like I said, if you want to take a screenshot, do that. That pretty much has every GoPro that's listed, even has things like your remote and stuff like that. So you can always download the latest firmware, and it'll go through the step-by-steps on how to do that.
Adam, I think there are people waiting to get in again. Are you able to just admit some?
Not that I can. Oh, hang on. Not that I can see there.
Okay, I was just reading text, that's all. Keep going.
Okay. Not sure. Do you want me to give it back to you for a second, George, and see if you can get them to come in? Yes, I can see it here. Right now. Okay, now I can't see where I can get those people to come in, so I'll just move along. Okay, so next one is overheating issues. It's you know, it's a common issue that we hear from a lot of people. They've been using their GoPro and it's lasted 20 minutes and overheated. And this really only ever happens for two reasons. A, the GoPro is not moving, so it's not getting sufficient airflow over the GoPro, or you've been recording at a really high resolution and a very high frame rate for a long period of time. Now, to avoid that, GoPro have actually added, like it's called a video performance mode. That's to the 9, 10, 11. So essentially what that does is that mode turns off functions that create heat in the GoPro, such as GPS, the wireless connection, and Hypersmooth. It also reduces the number of video resolution and frame rates that are available to you. So I don't normally use like the longest battery or extended battery mode. I always use the highest quality settings, but if you are having overheating issues, you might want to look at changing those settings. Also turning off your GoPro in between shooting and shooting shorter video clips and reducing your screen brightness, they also all help to reduce your heat buildup and stop that GoPro from overheating. Now, I don't know if anybody's had this, but I've seen a lot of people have issues connecting to the Quick app. Now, that generally happens if either the GoPro or the your mobile devices had an update. And I think we've got another question. Oh, yes, somebody's corrected it. Yeah, you're on taking longer videos. Okay, so that's, we'll get into that one for the dive housing. There's a setting that I use, it's called Quick Capture, and you'll see that a bit later on. Now, if you can't connect to your GoPro, the first thing I would get you to, I suggest to do is to try a reset, like the old computer thing, turn it off and on. So turn your mobile device off and also your GoPro on and see if you can connect. Now, if you still can't establish a connection, next thing you have to do is go into your Bluetooth settings on your phone, find the GoPro that's not connecting, and then do the forget device, which you'll see on iPhone. I think it's the same on Android. I'm not 100% sure. Next, go and open your Quick App. On the bottom right icon, sorry, on the bottom right, you'll see an icon that looks like a GoPro. Click on that, and then click on the 3 dots that are up in the top right. Once you've clicked on that, you'll see that you can actually remove that camera. So click on that. And now you want to re-establish that connection. So that's a bit different for each GoPro, but on the 9 and 10, it looks like this. Left.
Your screen's not currently being shared, Adam.
Oh, isn't it? Oh. Yeah, I'll just pause that. Okay, is that sharing again now? All right,
Yes,
there we go.
yes, we got it. Yeah.
Yep. All right, here we go.
And you're done.
I'll just play that one again for you. Okay, so this is how you can reconnect the phone.
Swipe down, swipe to the right, find connections, swipe to the bottom, hit reset connections, and then hit reset, and you're done.
And then we have to go through the process of repairing the GoPro again. So it's a bit of a pain to do, but that hopefully should be able to get you reconnected from the GoPro back onto your app on your mobile device. Now each GoPro is slightly different on how it does it. And if you're unsure how to do that, you can go onto that link there and it'll have connection or ways to connect your GoPro for each device.
On most GoPros, to connect your GoPro to the Quick App, you need to swipe down and swipe right, hit connections, hit connect device, tap GoPro Quick App, then open your GoPro Quick App on your device, then hit the icon, GoPro icon on the bottom right, then tap the GoPro Plus icon at the top right. It will then search for your GoPro, and once it's found it, connect it, then name your device. It will search for it, and now you're connected and you're ready to go.
Now, if you continue to have issues, I would suggest that you take a screenshot of this page. There's a link there to a troubleshooter guide. If they're still having issues, then I would go through the process of contacting GoPro themselves. Now, GoPro Australia's customer service is in WA, so they're 2 hours behind us. So I always find that if I need to speak to GoPro, that the best time to contact them is like 10 o'clock our time, which is 8 o'clock when they open over there, and 6:30 our time, which is 8:30 just before they close over in WA. So I've always found those times are the best time to try and get hold of them. All right, now make sure that the front your front lens is clean. I've forgotten to do this so many times. It's so easy to forget, especially when you're in a rush to get that shot. There's nothing worse than spending hours shooting what you think is going to be amazing content and only to find there's big marks on the front of the lens that ruins your shot. So take the time to check the front lens or your dive housing or your dome and make sure it's clean and scratch free. Now you won't always see these marks when you're diving, but you definitely will see them in your final images. And replace any damaged or scratched lens cover. They're relatively inexpensive to replace and will help avoid any future disappointment. There's companies like Freewells that you can buy the filters, or if you scratch your dome, you can generally buy a replacement dome as well. So here's a video where it's got a big lot of sunscreen on the front. And you definitely see those more when you're shooting towards the light. And that's a thumbprint which has left a big oily mark on my shot. So yeah, it's very important to just take the time. It doesn't take long. Just make sure you don't have a mark on your front lens. Next one, clean your GoPro and the seals. definitely check your seals before you go diving. Now, whether you dive with or without a case, take the time to check the seals, make sure they're clear of any foreign matter. And even the smallest bit of sand or hair can cause a failure on the seal where water can get ingress into the GoPro and potentially destroy it. And as you can see, I've got cats at home. I'm pretty fastidious with the seals, but even then I've still got to really check to make sure that there's no hairs on it, because they'll pick up hairs with being rubber. They just generally grab onto anything that's light. Now, it's for this reason I recommend that you, if you're snorkeling, that you still dive with a waterproof dive case. It just gives you that little bit of extra protection. And lastly, clean that GoPro and your dive housings and dive case after every dive. Now, after every dive, I suggest that you, like if you're a scuba diver, you've probably got this already, get the gear wash and some warm water and rinse it off in that, and then rinse again in some nice clean water, cold clean water. And this will help prevent any build-up of salt crystals that can damage the seals, and that can get into any of the moving parts on your GoPro, and it'll help to prolong the life of your GoPro as well. Now, this is the cool bit, cool features. Now, there are a number of features of your GoPro that it's capable of doing that you might not be aware of. And now these aren't available on all GoPros, but here's a list of some functions that are available on some GoPros. You mentioned it before, GoPro Labs firmware. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, there's a link to that, so you can download that. There's instructions of how to install it. Basically, you install it the same way as you would the firmware update manually. And then, like I said, you have access to a whole bunch of things. The thing I'm really interested in trying out on this one is the white balance lock. So at the moment, if you go diving, and I was speaking to Blake today, and it's an issue that he was having. So you go diving, you go down, you're recording, and if you're shooting an auto white balance, you can go where it starts looking green, and all of a sudden it starts looking blue. So by enabling auto white balance lock, you can get down to whatever level of you're diving at. As soon as you hit that record button, it's always auto white balancing before that, but as soon as you hit that record button, it'll lock that white balance, and then you won't get that change between green and blue in your shot. So yeah, it's something I definitely want to try. You can shoot up to 200 megabit. Normally it's 120 megabit. That's handy because it gives you even more finer detail. So if you imagine like waves and grass, they're all very similar colors, and it's you can get a lot more details in those shots when you can increase your bit rate as well. Now, there's way too many features to go through. If people are interested in that, I'm happy to do another talk on that later on in the year, because it's something that I think people can use to really take their GoPro even further. Now, webcam, you can actually use your GoPro 8, 9, 10, and 11 as a webcam. I'm actually using my GoPro 11 tonight as a webcam. And there's a link there so you can download that software. And lastly, live streaming. So anything from your GoPro 7 and newer can do live streaming. So you can do that from Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and there's a link there so it tells you how to do that. There was a lady in the chat last week that was having troubles to do that live streaming. Now, if you'll download GoPro Labs firmware, you can actually create a QR code, so you can actually just scan it and it'll set the live streaming straight onto your GoPro for you. So that's another feature that Labs firmware has for you. We've got a few questions there, looks like. Let me just have a look at those. Hero 6 dive case. I'd have to check that. I would assume that the Richie up there at Benogan that sells the Tellison gear, I'm pretty sure he will have them, but there'll be plenty of other places online that you should be able to get them from. Okay, George is going to upload. Oh, Blake, did you lose your GoPro? That's no good. Was it in the dive case? Can you turn your microphone on?
Oh, yeah, I keep mine in a dive case pretty much all the time, but I just open it up just to have a look because I change the batteries quite frequently. And yeah, it's like, oh, that's quite a bit of cat hair in there.
Yeah, and look, a lot of people think that because GoPro say it's waterproof to 10 meters, but as we know as divers, it's not so much the depth, it's the pressure. So you know, the density of water can change wherever you are in the world. So you can get hit by a wave, and that can cause enough pressure to create a failure on the sill. So that's why I always recommend diving with a dive case. Okay, some more cool features. Now, I'll demonstrate these on the GoPro 11, but some of these are available on other GoPros as well. So, lock screen. Now, if this is really handy for those that are snorkeling without a dive case, you will want to use this feature. As soon as you dive underwater, there is a high chance that the water pressure will act as a touch on the back of the screen of your GoPro. And this can then change the settings or your shooting mode on your GoPro without you knowing. Hands up who's gone diving and next thing they've gone, oh, why did I record a time lapse? I know I've spoken to 2 people I know that have done that. So lock screen will help save that issue. Actually, is Veronica still there? I did see her there before with her beautiful white glasses. Can you turn your microphone on for a second? If she's still there? No, she might have gone. No, that's right.
Oh, I'm here.
Oh, you're there. What
Yeah.
you mentioned the other day that your GoPro, you had it changing settings even though it had the lock screen on. So is that been?
Yeah. And then since you told me, now I'm using a case.
Yeah,
and it doesn't happen.
Excellent. By the way, I love your glasses. They're cool.
Oh, thanks so much. Okay, mute.
All right. So to prevent this happening, as I said, we activate the lock mode on the GoPro. So really handy feature to use.
To activate the lock screen on the GoPro 11, swipe down, hit the lock key top right. Now when you touch the back of the screen, you will not be able to change any settings. You still have access to the mode button on the side to change through photo, time-lapse and video, and you also have the quick function to the presets, and you can tap the screen, swipe across, which will then allow you to get back into the unlock button there, so you have full access to your settings again.
Spot metering mode. Now, not everybody's going to want to use this, but there may be times when you are recording video or taking photos and you need a little bit more control over your exposure. So spot metering mode exposes from a smaller section of your frame. Now this can be handy if we're diving, especially if we're doing like selfies. We might be diving with the sun behind us, and by using the spot metering, we can have that like focused on our face, and then it's going to expose properly for our face rather than taking the sun in behind us and maybe underexposing our face while we're diving. And you can also use this feature to lock the exposure on your GoPro as well.
To activate spot metering mode on the GoPro 11, tap and hold the back of the screen until you see the exposure metering box appear. You can hold inside the box and drag it around the screen to wherever you want. Once you decide on that position, you can also change the exposure compensation to plus or minus. If you tap inside the box, you can lock the exposure. If you don't want that, tap inside it again, then tap the tick icon bottom right to then set the spot metering. To deactivate spot metering, tap the spot metering box again.
So does that make sense to anybody? Does anybody see any, I guess, advantage with that for some shooting situations? I use it all the time when I'm doing a time lapse, because the sun can move through my frame, and I'll choose a section of the frame where like the moon or the sun's not going to go through, so I get a much more even exposure. Quick capture. Now, somebody was mentioning before, like I guess the overheating issues in a dive case. I always use quick capture when I'm diving. Now this allows you to turn your GoPro on and record with one press of the record button. And if you press it again, it'll stop recording and turn the GoPro off. And because your GoPro shuts down after recording, it helps conserve battery life, and it can also help prevent the GoPro from overheating.
If your GoPro isn't in the quick capture mode, if your GoPro is turned off, you won't be able to start recording by pressing the record button. To turn the GoPro on, we need to press and hold the mode button on the side, wait for it to then turn on before pressing the record button to start recording. To stop recording, we press the record button again, and if you want your GoPro to shut down, we will need to hold and press the mode button on the side again. If we enable the quick capture mode by pressing the rabbit icon and the GoPro is turned off, we can now activate recording by just simply pressing the record button. The GoPro will turn on and start recording straight away. If you tap the record button again, it will stop recording and shut down automatically.
So, like I said, for me, that's a really handy feature.
Adam, can I just, Andy Joy, where's Andy? Andy wants you to replay the previous video so we can try those steps on our GoPros as it's playing.
Oh, which one was that one? Was that the spot metering one or?
Spot me, I think so. Where's Andy? Is that the one? Spot metering, yeah, correct.
Okay.
To activate spot metering mode on the GoPro 11, tap and hold the back of the screen until you see the exposure metering box appear. You can hold inside the box and drag it around the screen to wherever you want. Once you decide on that position, you can also change the exposure compensation to plus or minus. If you tap inside the box, you can lock the exposure. If you don't want that, tap inside it again, then tap the tick icon bottom right to then set the spot metering. To deactivate spot metering, tap the spot metering box again. If your GoPro isn't in the quick capture mode, if you hit the record button again, it will stop recording and shut down automatically.
Okay, now with that quick capture mode, actually before I move on, was there any other questions on any of those videos so far? Okay, so what have we got there? Okay, so can these features be accessed while in the waterproof case? Not all of them, no. Some of them can, but not all of them. Now, Veronica, that one there was a dome. That one I was using a dome. That's why I had the water in the front of that one.
When he says you got like the display, and on the display of the GoPro it says water.
Ah, okay.
How
Yes.
did you get to that?
Oh, I'm special.
Thank
No, I'll explain that in a minute. That's a you can set a custom preset, which will be coming up later on in this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So you didn't explain it yet. Okay. Thank you.
No. Okay, so if you're using quick capture, I do recommend turning this off if you're traveling, because what can happen is that record button can get bumped when you're in transit, and then it could start recording on you. So next thing you get 2 hours of nothing video and a dead battery. So yeah, just turn that function off when you're traveling. Okay, the GoPro secret menu. So Veronica was just asking about some ways of getting into some of the features. So this is really handy when you're diving. Now, when your GoPro is in a dive case, you don't have access to the settings, but there is a hack that you can use that gives you access to the shooting profiles in each of the shooting modes. And we can do this by tapping and holding both the mode button and the record button at the same time. And this brings up the secret menu for you. You can now cycle through the shooting profiles by tapping the mode button. And once you cycle to the shooting profile you want, you tap the record button, and that makes the selection for you. You still won't be able to change and make any fine adjustments to those shooting profiles. So you need to make sure they're all set correctly before you go diving. And as I said, I will talk more about some of these custom profiles in week 4, but we also talk about this tonight as well. Now, on the 9, 10, and 11, sometimes when you try that, the mode button and the record button, it doesn't always activate.
Or GoPro is in a dive case, you can still move through the modes of time-lapse, video, and photo mode, but you won't be able to change any of the settings. So what do? Well, you hold down the mode button and the record button at the same time, and it brings up the menu. You can now, by pushing the mode button, scroll through the profiles that you have set under the video or photo mode or time-lapse mode. Once you've selected the profile you want, hit the record button and it will lock that profile for you. You'll need to make sure that each shooting profile is already set up the way you want. You can change this by going into the ProTune settings or setting up your own custom shooting profile. Sometimes on the 9, 10 and 11 you might find that you don't have access to this secret menu and it'll just start recording. So how do you fix this? Generally what has happened is that the front screen is turned off. Turn this on, enable it, and then try it again, and you should find that you have access now to the secret menu. Make your selection and you're good to go.
Yeah, so that's secret menu. It's a handy one if you've got different shooting profiles that you want to shoot with while you're underwater. Like I said, we can't change any of those settings, but we can set those settings up before we go diving, and then we have access to each one of those profiles by using that that method. So is there any questions on that one? Yes, it is available on the 8th for that one. Witchcraft. Handy to know, that's for sure. Okay, we can also enable grid lines. Now this is a really handy feature to help with your framing. In photography and videography, you'll often hear the term the rule of thirds. Now I'll go into more detail about the rule of thirds next week when we talk about framing, etc. Now this rule can be difficult to visualize, and it can take time for our brains to learn how to see like this. But GoPro have cleverly added a feature which adds grid lines to the rear screen of your GoPro. Once you enable this feature, you'll be able to see the overlay that looks like a tic-tac-toe board.
One of the key rules to photography and videography is the rule of thirds. This describes splitting your frame equally into thirds, both horizontally and vertically. We then put our main subject on the intersection of these lines. If you're new to photography and videography, it can be hard to visualize what this looks like. The back of the screen of the GoPro is blank by default. However, we can change these settings by going into Preferences, scrolling down to Display, scrolling to the bottom for Rear Screen Grid. If we enable this and go back to our main screen, you will now see that we have the compositional lines for the rule of thirds, making it much easier to place our main subjects on the intersection lines or in the center of the frame.
Yeah, so does anybody see the advantage of that? I use that all the time. That's how it helps me for framing my shots underwater. Very handy feature to enable. What about the 6? I'm not 100% sure with the 6. I haven't used that, but I believe it's sort of, a lot of these settings are available from probably about the 5 up, I would say, this one. But I'd have to check on that for you. So yeah, once you've enabled that, go and play with the GoPro. Try using that grid and placing your subjects onto those intersection lines, and just see how it can help to improve your photos and your videos once it's been enabled. Okay, settings. This one is for Veronica. Now, the following section is really aimed at those that are already using GoPros and have an understanding of how to use the ProTune settings. Now, ProTune settings are available on the majority of GoPros. There are some models like the GoPro White and Silver series that don't have these features, but you really want ProTunes enabled to get the most out of your GoPro. Now, for those that have got the new GoPro 11, that actually comes enabled with a mode called Easy by default. So you don't actually have access to the ProTune settings while it's in Easy mode. So to activate the ProTune settings on your GoPro 11, you need to swipe down and then swipe left. And you'll now see the Control Easy button, which is located at the bottom left of the screen. And if you click on that box, you can now change that to Pro, which enables the ProTune settings for you. So you might want to take a quick screenshot of that. I haven't taken a video for this one, and that'll help you if you haven't enabled the Pro settings on your GoPro 11 yet. Now, unfortunately, there's just way too many GoPro models and settings to cover for all GoPro users in one evening. The following settings are really mostly relevant for the current models 9, 10, and 11, although there is a bit of a crossover through other models. For those that are using the GoPro for the first time, especially GoPro 11 users, and need a comprehensive guide to setting up their GoPro from scratch, then I recommend there's a video link there from Backscatter, and I've gone through. It's about a 35-minute video, but I fully agree with everything they put in that video. It's a very, very good video to watch. So I'll share that later, or take a screenshot of this page so that you can refer to it later. So on the GoPro, they're a fairly simple camera really. There's only 3 shooting modes. You have time-lapse, and they basically have standard shooting profiles. The first one is time warp, and that's for basically taking a time-lapse while you're moving. Then you have time-lapse, and that's for a stationary GoPro during the day, taking a time-lapse. And then you have night-lapse, which is it can take long exposures for the nighttime to do a time-lapse. Now, there is a bit of a hack when you use night-lapse as well. I use an ND1000 filter, and that allows me to take the long exposure during the day as well. So you can create an effect like this. So you can see that, yeah, by using that night lapse with an ND1000 filter, I can still shoot during the day, but I get that nice long blurred sort of background as the car's driving through the traffic. Now the new GoPro 11, it's added some extra features in time-lapse mode. You have star trails, which creates those really nice star trail effect. You have light painting, so you can get a torch, whatever, and write names or whatever you want to. Then you have vehicle lights, so you can get that vehicle light trails. And if you were watched last week's video, I had a demonstration on each of those shooting profiles. So maybe refer back to that video again if you want to see how that's done. My preference for the time-lapse mode is to shoot in night lapse. And these are my go-to settings for time-lapse mode. Now, you might want to take a screenshot of that as well, just so that you can refer to that later and put those settings onto your GoPro. I'll just go through these settings quickly for you. I use resolution 5.3K and format 4:3 for 2 reasons. 5.3K gives me the best video quality, and 4:3 means that if I want to, I can crop it, or I can actually, when I put it into a video editor, I can move through that frame, so it, it's not just static. I can actually get some nice movement through the frame with it by just doing a well, we'll go into the video settings, the video editing later, but it'll definitely give you a little bit more room to move with the video. I shoot the lens on wide, generally because when I'm shooting a time lapse, I want to get as much field of view as possible. Now the interval, that will change depending on what I'm trying to shoot, but on the most part it's 10 seconds, and that allows me to shoot from daytime to nighttime. The format is night lapse mode. I use auto shutter, and the next one is I put the bitrate on high. I always turn my exposure compensation down by -0.5. The minimum and maximum ISO, that will change depending on what I'm shooting, but from doing a daytime to nighttime or nighttime to daytime, I'll set 100 and 400, and my white balance of 4500K, and then sharpness medium. Color, I'll set to either flat or natural. I generally use flat if I'm shooting more nighttime, because I get a little bit more detail in the shadows and reduce the noise on it. but that's a preference on what you want to try to achieve. And this is what you can get with those settings. Yeah, so you can see with those settings that you can shoot from daytime to nighttime, and it does it very effortlessly and smoothly for you. So really great settings to use for your GoPro. Now, video is the next mode that's available to us. The video settings are all different across each GoPro model. These are the standard shooting profiles for the GoPro 11. So you have standard, full frame, activity, cinematic, ultra slow-mo. Now, each of these profiles shoot at different resolutions, frame rates, and formats. Each one of those modes are really dependent on what you're trying to shoot. Now, you can save your own custom preset, and I create my own preset and call it water. And these are the settings that I use for that one. Now, I think for the essence of time, I didn't actually create a video for this one. If anybody wants to know how to do that, I'll do a link and send that to the group. But it's fairly simple. On the back of your GoPro, you just have to tap the shooting mode that it's in. You press and hold that, and it brings up your you just tap it, and then you'll have an access to a little hamburger menu at the top. You hit the plus icon, and then you can save your own preset.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Look, I'm not into sort of green water.
Yes.
And if I put a video up, I want it to be nice and blue and fresh.
Yes.
Is there anything we can do to the settings to give us that nice crisp look? I know it's a hard one, but
Not
suggest.
the suggestion will come in when we start talking about color correction in week 4.
Yeah.
But the easiest thing to do is just, and I've tried every feature, and I've spoken to a lot of professionals. They all use automatic white balance. The GoPros are getting very, very good at scene detection. And then in your GoPro Quick app, you actually have, if you edit that video, you actually have access to filters. And if you click on the edit tab, you go into filters, you'll slide it across, you'll find one that says water. And when you click on that, you'll see there's one that says dive, snorkel, surf, and I think there's another one, beach or something. I can't remember what they are. But if you click on the dive one, you'll see that it comes up, it'll change the color from green to blue straight away. And you have a slider that you can move back and forth to dial in as much of that color correction as you want. And that's all I do. And this next video, this is what you'll get from just doing that. So just to give you an idea on that video, that was, I think, my 7th or 8th dive. So really only my third, I think it was my third dive after getting certified. And as you know, when you're a novice scuba diver, we're all flappy arms, flappy feet. We don't really have that really nice trim yet. So for that shot there, I actually used a dive tray and some video lights. So that definitely helped. So you can see by using some equipment like that, and having the right settings, from somebody that was pretty much my first time underwater scuba diving with a GoPro, and that's the sort of content you get. So having the correct settings and also having the correct equipment will definitely help improve your videos.
So that's edited on the GoPro Quick app. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah.
So therefore, anyone with a 7, 8, 9, or 10 can use the GoPro Quick app. Is that correct?
Yeah. Any of them can actually do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so photo mode. These are the standing shooting profiles available on the GoPro 11. You have photo, burst, and night photo. I think that's pretty similar across most models. In night photo mode, it's same like I could with the time lapse. You can actually use like an ND1000 filter, and then you can shoot long exposures during the day, which gives you a shot like that. And we
So
have a-
these ND filters, what are they? What are the ND? Has anyone
Okay,
done-
so let me just, I'll try to explain it. So basically on your GoPro, you have a filter on it. You can actually remove that, and then an ND1000, it's very, very dark. If you try to look through it, it's almost black, but it's what they call neutral gray, so it doesn't actually give a color cast to the shot. It just stops the amount of light that can get to the center on the GoPro. So normally with a normal filter on it, you know, a scene like this would probably be 1/200th of a second to capture that shot. With an ND1000 filter on the front, it cuts back 6 stops of light and extends the shutter speed by 6 times the amount. So instead of 1/200th of a second, I get a 1 second shutter speed and can create that effect.
Are you saying that filter comes off
Yes, yeah.
on all the models?
Sorry?
On all the models?
5, 6, the 8 didn't, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, yeah.
And how does that pop out?
So you press down and then you just twist and it just pops off.
I never knew that. I had no idea. And where do you buy these filters from?
A company called Freewell have them. GoPro have the filters as well. You can buy them off their website, but not the ND1000 but the replacement lens for it. Yeah.
Okay. Handy to know.
There you go. You learn something new every day.
What do you do?
But people sort of poo-poo the GoPro for taking photos, but as you can see, you can take some pretty nice photos with it.
Okay.
Now, for underwater photography, my preference is to use the burst mode. And that's my settings there. The burst rate I've set there, that's where it says 5/1. That means it takes 5 seconds over 1 second. You can increase that to 10 if you want to, but then I just find that's just way too many photos. But what I find by using that, hang on, I'll just put the lens back onto the GoPro. When you're putting the lens back on, you'll see there's some flanges there, so make sure they line up to the flanges on the GoPro. And then you just push down and you twist and it's back on again. So really simple. Yeah, so basically with the burst mode, why I use that is because if I'm taking a photo and maybe there's a shark coming towards me or a person, I don't know when that peak of the action is going to happen. So by taking a burst shot, I'm going to get multiple images and then I can choose the best shot from that one. If I'm just taking a single photo, you know, click, you know, you're always pushing down the GoPro and then you're underwater, you don't have anything to stop it from bobbing. So if you're taking multiple shots in one go, you can just then simply pan with the subject. So that's, I find, the best mode to shoot photos underwater. Now, photo mode, to be honest, I don't really use it, especially on the new 10 and 11. You know, you can shoot 4K, 5.3K and get a great frame grab, and that's a frame grab from one of my videos before. Now, because most people, they're not going to be printing it, they're just sharing to social media. So yeah, unless you're really going to be trying to print those shots, then I would just take a frame grab from your video. And that's about it for tonight. So if there's any questions or if anybody's having any troubles with their GoPro, might just stop sharing for a second. There you go. Yeah, feel free to send me any messages through or turn your mic on and have a little chat.
I think someone's waiting to pop in, Adam.
Hang on, might.
And listen, I think there's going to be a few questions from people that have got 7, 8, 9s and 10s regarding the relevance of some of these features. So fire away, everybody. Let us know.
Hey, Dale here. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, can I hear you?
Hey, I have an 8, and with my, and obviously, like, I dive the majority of the time using my GoPro. So, changing any photo settings or video settings with the casing on.
Yeah.
How is that done? Because every time I press, all I seem to have is the word photo, video, or time lapse. So yeah, I don't seem to be, I don't have the knowledge to change anything in there.
Yeah, so you might have missed that bit which we went through before. So there is actually a hack for that. So on the GoPros, if you push the mode button and the record button at the same time, Just turn this one on for you so you can see what it does. So imagine this is in a dive case. I can't touch any of the settings on the back of the screen. And I want to, yeah, as you said, you can go through the different modes. You can do that. But how do you change the settings? Well, you push the mode button and the record button at the same time. And there you go, you've got those settings now. You can cycle through the different profiles that you have set. And then you hit the record button and it will set that, that profile for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I actually did see that before, but now I understand exactly what that means. Thanks, mate.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, Annette's asking, what settings do you use for macro shooting on GoPro 11?
Okay, so you can get macro lenses for your GoPro. If you're going to do that, you're going to need to set it to your lens to either linear or narrow. If you set it to linear, you'll have to then use the zoom function as well. That's why it's probably just as easy just to go to narrow, because you need to zoom your frame in far enough so that you don't get that edge of that the macro lens, because that does stick out a little bit from the frame. So you'll definitely need to use narrow for that. As far as the other settings, it's pretty much the same for the photo settings that I had there before. You probably also, if you're shooting macro stuff, you'll want to get a tray and also a little, maybe like a little Joby tripod. They're the ones with a flexible arm, so you can sit it on the ground, because when you're shooting macro, you've only got to move a little bit and you'll lose that point of focus. So you need something where you can sit and keep that camera stable from moving when you're taking the macro shots.
Okay. And where's Veronica? Veronica's still here? Oh, yeah. Veronica's asking, can I see again quickly the screen with the secret mode?
Yeah.
Had activate. I got confused. Sorry. Using the two buttons together. Yep.
Right. Veronica, where are you?
I'm here.
Okay. So you've got the 11?
I've got the 10, and when I press together the two buttons, I only got like a tag. I turns on and got a tag. And then I saw that you were showing how to activate the secret mode.
Yeah.
And I lost.
Okay. So is your front screen turned on the GoPro 10?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay. And if you do that mode button and the record button, does it come up for you into that mode?
Let me try again. Highlight edit, it says.
Okay. I might need to catch up with you on the weekend and find out what's happening there.
Oh, okay. No worries.
Yeah, it was doing it on my 10 before, but when I tried turning the front screen off and then returning it back on and see if that helps it. So if you go into the view slide down from the top.
Yeah. Tell me, I go in general.
Yes, and then you'll have the one there that's the bottom, second in from the left for your screen. Do the cross on the side on the left, and then enable it.
Preference, and then preference, and.
So you want to? I'll just show you. See if you can see this. Okay, so if you swipe down, and you'll see the one at the bottom, and it's just in from the left there.
Okay, sorry. No, I get it.
Yeah. And if you hit that one,
and I go off.
Yeah, turn it off and then try it. If that doesn't work, try turning it back on and see if that. So it might just be a.
Yeah, on secret mode, I think you got to press the power button on first, and then the top button, and then it does it for you.
Processing super photo.
I think yours is broken, Veronica.
They just replaced it. You know, this is a brand new one. That's so weird.
Oh no, time to get a new GoPro.
It's just been replaced. Let me try again. Highlight edit.
Yeah.
And the front
we might need to do another manual firmware update on that just to clear that bug on it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You send me a link on Messenger. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Adam. We'll let you go to sleep now.
Adam, there's been a few links that you've suggested. George, can you make sure you share those to us?
Yes, I'll be giving those to George. Yep.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And I'll upload everything to YouTube tomorrow and post it up there, okay? All right, any other questions?
Facebook even.
Now, Kirsty, what's she done? Playing around, I seem to have accidentally set up a time delay before it starts recording. Okay, how do I turn this off? That will be just in your preferences there. You'll find you'll probably set it to like a 3-second timer or something like that. So you just need to turn the timer off. That'll be done from your GoPro Quick App, or by just going into ProTunes. You should see that you've set that. How do I get out of max video and swap to normal? Okay, so for that question there, okay, for that person that's having an issue with the max lens mod, if you swipe down from the back, you'll get that settings menu at the back there. The icon, which is the bottom right, it looks like a little eye. That's for your for the max lens mod. So if that's enabled, that'll be blue. If you want to get rid of that, just tap that and that'll disable that max lens mod feature for you.
Okay, so I got 2 questions.
Yep.
So on Sunday, we're going to Marietta Dale. It's probably about 20, 25 meter depth. And settings, I only take video.
Yep.
White balance, is that something I should do in auto?
Still I use auto. Pretty much, look, to be honest, and that's what I'm going to be talking about next week. Once you get past, and it all depends on the quality of the water that you're diving in, the surface. Like if you've got a rough day, it's murky water or it's a bit cloudy, it's all going to affect the amount of light that can get down into the water. So, if it's perfectly clear day, nice still water, you could probably get down to 20 meters, 25 meters still, and still get some enough light to get a good video from your GoPro. But if conditions are off, you might find that at maybe at about 15 meters, that's probably where you really need to start getting dive light. So once you get to a certain depth, like 20 to 25 meters, you really need to start looking at getting a dive tray with some video lights to really get the best out of your GoPro.
Okay. So cinematic mode?
Cinematic mode. So what you can do there, like if you, that brings up a good question actually. So what you can do, I normally shoot at 60 frames per second. Now, if you are diving deeper, I would change that to 30 frames per second. Because what that does is that gives you one more stop of light to play with. So that means that, if I'm at 20 meters and all of a sudden my GoPro needs to use 800 ISO because I'm shooting at 60 frames per second, if I change that to instead of using 60 frames per second, but change it to 30 frames per second, that means that GoPro can actually shoot now at 400 ISO, which is going to make the video look much cleaner. So yeah, you can definitely shoot at a 30 frames per second or even 24 frames, 25 frames, depending on how you got your GoPro set up. But that will definitely help with the quality of your video.
I understand none of that, so thanks for that. Now,
Adam, but you're not going to work that out until you're actually down there. And once you're down there, you can't make those adjustments.
Yes, you can. Secret mode, you press the button.
You can set those profiles up before you go down. So you can have one. Yeah, so you can have one that's for 60 frames. You can't, unfortunately, like when you, I might do a video on that and post it to the group so that it makes it a lot easier for you to understand how to do that.
There's a lot of snorkelers here, right? So, we're diving at the surface. We might be duck diving to 1 or 2 meters. Rudimentary settings for that type of behavior.
So that was pretty much in the video or the settings for that video section. So like I said, I shoot 5.3K on my GoPro 10 and 11 just because it gives me the best quality. Gives me I can zoom into that shot if I need to, and I shoot at 60 frames per second, so I can slow it down in post. That way all the fish and everything look much more tranquil, much more serene, I guess, rather than a bit hectic if it's just shot at normal speed. In fact, Veronica, I've seen her, she shoots at like 120 frames per second, and some of the videos she gets looks absolutely crazy cool because now you've got like turtles just moving through the water and they just look like they're drifting. It looks incredible. So you can definitely change your settings to a higher frame rate to then slow your video down later on in your editing software, which makes the video look nice, really nice and tranquil.
Okay. All right. Is there any other questions from the group?
Yeah, it's Dale here again. Adam, I know last week in the first introductory, you were talking about the photos and videos seemingly having like the green effect. Are you talking about that in more in depth next week? About even in Clearwater, it seems like my photos come out like I'm in the greenest swamp ever, and I know that was a clear day. Is that something that we're going to go into a bit more detail next week?
Yes. That won't be next week. That'll be in week 4 when we talk about color correction, etc., etc. What I can do, I don't know if I might be able to do it. Let me just try this for you.
And on that note, sometimes like you're down at 10 meters, right? And the water looks really green and ugly. And then you move your camera around, maybe to a bit of light, and then you drag it back to where you are. And then all of a sudden it clears up. What's that about? You familiar with that phenomenon?
Sorry, just got my wife talking to me. Maybe sec. Sorry,
Yeah, I've seen that in my one too.
Yeah, did you hear what I said, Adam? Like you got your camera, you're focusing, and it's all
Yep.
dark.
Yep.
And you move your camera away and you bring it back, and then it all clears up.
Yes, yeah, it can do that, and that's basically because the GoPro is trying to do scene recognition. So generally, if you're shooting a bit of water where there's not much that it can recognise, it's probably thinking it could be a forest or something like that. So it's actually trying to record the wrong scene, I guess. That's how auto white balance generally works on the GoPro. I'm just trying to find a video, and I'll share the link for you if anybody's interested. Here we go.
Yep.
If anybody wants a bit of a head start. Now, there's a link that I'm just sharing to people. And that goes through how you can adjust your color on your GoPro. So if it's looking green, like I said, you do have a feature in your GoPro Quick App so that you can go into the filter section and go into the water filter, and you'll see one that says dive, and then you can actually use that slider to adjust the amount of blue that gets back into the shot. It does a crazy good job. There is another app called Dive Plus as well that a lot of divers use, but seeing that if you've already got the GoPro Quick App, this does a really good job of getting rid of a lot of that green for you.
Okay.
The other issue you have there as well, I guess, with the especially, is that generally in the seaway where you're having those issues?
Oh yeah, or anywhere, could be any site,
Okay. Generally, the seaway especially is pretty bad for that because there is a lot of particles in the water, and what happens there is those particles come through, especially if it's a choppy surface, then they start bouncing around, and the wavelengths of the color spectrum, they just get split up. So, and water has it's much denser than I guess air, so it doesn't take much for that our normal sunlight to then start dispersing and becoming a different color. So that's why we sort of see greens. But using the app, the GoPro Quick App to rectify that's all I do to get my videos, to be honest. So I always shoot in RAW and do that. If you looked at all my GoPro videos on my GoPro media library, you'll see a lot of those look green, but just by using that one simple technique of the color correction filter in the GoPro Quick App, it'll change your video straight away.
All right. Well, if there's no further questions.
No, next week I'll just bring up my thing. Oops. Sorry, I'll get rid of that one. So next week, like I said, we're going to be talking about equipment and the basics of framing and composition. Now, just a little bit about that. So the basics of framing and composition, they apply to any forms of imagery. So whether you're using a drone, a DSLR, your phone, or your GoPro, honestly, when you see next week, you can use that for any type of camera that you're using. And that's about it. So thanks for everybody for coming along tonight. Hopefully you got a lot out of tonight. Feel free to DM me with any questions. I don't have any problems talking to anybody and trying to help you out. I'll definitely try and help you out. Veronica, I don't know what you do to your cameras.
Thanks so much, Adam. Thank you so much.
I think it's just you, Veronica.
Yeah, I break everything.
But yes, I'm looking forward to next week because there'll be some really nice stuff in that people can can use and yeah, and keep you know, improving their video and photos with their GoPro.
Thank you so much.